Congressman Doug Collins is with the House Republican Conference. He is their vice chair, so he's a bigwig. All right, so Congressman, what do you think of what your colleague was saying there? Now, of course, they have a history of some bad blood. I understand that. But he seems to be saying there could be some there, and if there is, impeachment isn't such a crazy prospect.
Well, I think, Neil, come on. And my colleague can say what he wants to say, and there is some history there. I think you validly pointed that out. And if there's an axe to grind, fine, let it be ground. But in this case, my question comes back to different questions. If Comey felt like he was being strong-armed or pressured, as it looks like he said, why didn't he say something then? He's never had a problem in the past few years of being very vocal, at times inserting himself into areas that he said he even felt uncomfortable, but he felt he had an obligation and integrity to do that. Where was the concern if this was a strong-arm, if he felt undue pressure from the president? Why didn't he say something then? Why didn't he bring forward to the acting attorney general or the attorney general to say, I'm not comfortable here, here's something that's happened that I think needs to be addressed? Those are the kind of questions that we don't know.
His supporters say, how do we know he didn't? He was just fired. And you're right about the timing of that. It's rather curious how this all comes out now. But do you think that it seems to be, Congressman, one guy's word against another? And hard as it is to prove in either case, then you need more. You need more supporting evidence, so more cavalier approaches the president has taken. Where do you see this going? Because some of your Republican colleagues are worried that, at the very least, it's going to stymie, stall your agenda. You've heard all of that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they'll look at this. There's plenty of committees on Capitol Hill that are going to look into this. You already have Oversight Committee in the House has asked for the documents. I believe in asking for the documents. I agree with the Speaker. Let's track this to where it ends. That's part of Congress's role. I serve on the Judiciary Committee. We have direct oversight over the Attorney General and the Justice Department and the FBI. I'm hoping that Chairman Goodlatte will assert our jurisdiction there and be a part of that process we go forward. But let's also think about what's happening here. There's a lot of hoopla that is trying to disrupt. If I was the Democrats, I would also be very upset that everything that you've tried to do in the previous administration that most of the Americans didn't like, by proof of the election process in the House and the Senate over the last few years, we're getting back to what the American people wanted. Less government involvement, tax reform, health care reform. We're focused on that agenda. The rest of the talking heads, all they want to do at this point is take down and make the president be deflective of something else. We're simply saying we'll look into everything that may have come up in this situation. It'll be fought out to its end, but we're going to chew gum at the same time, as the Speaker said, but we're going to make sure that we're doing a positive agenda. For any of my colleagues or anybody else, the best way to be is on offense. We're going to be on offense listening to the American people, saying these are the things we promised and we're going to follow through on that promise. That's what gets us back on track, and that's what lets these things go. We'll track them down. We'll investigate. There's 5 different investigations into Russia. What we need now is to continue to do what we know we need to do, and that's listen to the American people, provide the business relief, the tax reform, and make sure that our agenda is positive and the American people will respond to that.
Are you troubled there, sir, your support notwithstanding, that very few Republicans have come out with boisterous support? Now, you're quite right to point out Speaker Ryan, who said we'll take this where it goes. He still has full confidence in President Trump. Wherever this leads, we will go. But he still added, we do want to hear from Director Comey. In other words, that he is fully supportive of Jason Chaffetz's efforts and others to have committee hearings and the like that could be a huge distraction of whether you find them justified or not, and get in the way of that agenda. I know that's very important to you.
Well, I think, when we look at this all along, I've always been a strong proponent of 3 branches of government. Congress has an oversight role. That is part, no matter who's in the White House and no matter who's leading on Capitol Hill, we have that responsibility for oversight. That is part of our job. But to simply begin to believe, and my hope is that our members won't buy into this narrative, that we simply become paralyzed, because I believe what happens, we've been given really a generational chance here. We've been given a generational chance to talk about the things that we've been dealing with for 7 years. We've been talking about repealing and replacing Obamacare. We've talked about tax reform. We've talked about regulatory relief, which we have done. And what is amazing to me is we continue to get these kind of issues when we've been accomplishing things. My hope is we'll focus on looking forward, do what we need to do, but realize that we're not a binary choice here. We have to do one or the other. We can do both at the same time, and that's what I encourage our members across the aisle. And I'd also encourage the Democrats to understand that, look, I understand you wouldn't want to have things change from what you ran on, but the American people have spoken. Let's move forward and let's move an agenda that works for them.
Are you worried, though, that this does drag on into the summer? Because a lot of your colleagues have expressed concern that the president is, and there's no discipline at the White House. They need order there. He needs to fire his senior staff, needs to do something. Then people come back, and as you've heard, Congressman, he doesn't listen to people. He won't take their advice. I had John Scully, the former Apple chairman, who said he needs a COO, a chief operating officer, someone who can instill some discipline, much as Howard Baker, tried to fill that role. And I'm just wondering, can he?
I think he can. I mean, look at the speech he just gave and talking about overcoming. We're talking about a man who basically from early childhood grew up, saw a vision, made that vision happen. I think we see in every new administration, we see the first few months are always differences of getting a settled in staff, making sure everything works, getting the transition of the old administration out, the new administration. That's been delayed by the Senate in our case because they've drugged their feet on appointments of the cabinet secretaries and everything else. We're seeing some, disruptions. There's the distractions, but I think at the end of the day, I can only control what we can control, and that is the things that we're doing here on Capitol Hill that move things to the president's desk, and we're encouraging the president to be a part of that, which he has been, by giving input and also focus on the things that got him elected. When that happens, then these other things will still be there. There'll always be detractors. There'll always be people who want to take this president down, but we choose to operate on what we can.
But should he fire some people? I mentioned Howard Baker, and a lot of people, especially of a certain age, young age, which would be younger than me, might not recall that he came into the Reagan administration as a former Senate Republican leader to instill discipline and get some order back in the Reagan White House, and it worked.
Yeah, I think those are the kind of things that the president and the president himself is going to have to look at this. I think he's expressed his frustration. We'll see what he does in his decisions, and we'll see. I mean, does that need to happen? I think the focus needs to be there, and they just need to keep focusing on the things that got them there. If they would do that, and I think that's a message that will resonate with the American people.
All right, Congressman, thank you for taking the time. We do appreciate it.